I've always had a camera in hand. As a kid, I had disposable cameras with me everywhere I went. You know, the ones that you bring to the pharmacy to get your film developed in 2 hours? Yeah, those rocked. Eventually my passion of photography grew into having the same starter DSLR as everyone else and thinking, man, I finally have a professional camera. March of 2020 came along, and just like everyone else, I was bored at home with nothing to do, so I decided from that moment I was finally going to take photography seriously. 3 years later, and I've been making all of my money from photography for a solid 2 years. That singular decision in 2020 completely changed my life. In the past 3 years, there have been tons of skills that helped me get to where I'm at today, but there's one that stands out, and it's a skill that people tend to gloss over and brush off. It's not composition, it's not getting the newest camera and lens, and it's not even editing. It's none of that. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking the secret hack to making it as a professional photographer or videographer. So let's go ahead and get a little bit of the backstory out of the way. In the very beginning of my career, when I realized I wanted to be making money from photography for a living, I was sending out cold emails everywhere, blasting them out to different companies. Hey, let me take photos for you. Let me take photos for you. Let me take photos for you. And out of the hours and hours of work that I put in, and I made maybe a grand total of about $400 after months of grinding. But that was the very beginning of my career. I didn't have the portfolio to show for it, and I didn't have the skills. Eventually, I built up the skills, I built up the portfolio, and it was still kind of meh. Flash forward to the year 2022, and I made every single dollar of my living from photography and videography. So if you guys might have put the pieces together, the secret hack to all this is networking. Now hold up, before you click off and say, this dude is crazy, this is a worthless video, please bear with me, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the opening sequence of this video was from the SoCal Shooters event, where they had a bunch of photographers from the area come in and get to shoot with models and take helicopter rides across the Los Angeles area. This was an insane event and definitely a bucket list item to fly over downtown LA in an open door helicopter at golden hour. Mind blown, I loved it. But the coolest thing about this event is it was a networking event for other photographers in the local area to either meet people on Instagram that inspired them or network with other photographers in their niche and genre. So the reason that this is such a great platform for new photographers is because the more people you meet, the more dollars you put in your pocket. And that might sound vain, but bear with me. Networking gives photographers two indispensable skills that you can't get if you don't network the right way. So starting off with tip number one, creativity is subjective. So when you're first starting off in your creative career, what you think might look good might not be the best looking image to the masses. So when you go out and shoot with other photographers, you might see the way that they shoot things, and it might be the same thing that you're shooting, but it might be from a different angle, some different composition, maybe adding some foreground in. And when you're exposed to these photographers, you might be seeing a scene one way, and then see somebody shoot a scene in a totally different way that might just inspire you to grow. Perfect example of this, when I was in New York City, Chris linked us up with a friend of his, Victor. Victor's a much more talented photographer than me, in my opinion. The dude is incredible, and we went out shooting street photography with him, and watching him work, being a noob street photographer, I'm shooting compositions one way, and I'm looking at him get down lower, shoot through things, get foreground elements in there, and it just kind of blew my mind. And then from that day forward, while I was in New York, I was shooting photos in a different way, in a different light. And I was thinking to myself, okay, how would Victor be shooting this? It really brought out more of a creative aspect, seeing how a different photographer would shoot something the way that I would shoot it. So not only gaining inspiration in the creative field, networking with these other photographers, you're learning their work process, maybe the gear they use, how they build clientele. So it's giving you indispensable information that you can use to then boost your career. So tip number one was all about boosting your skills through networking. Now, how are we going to make money as creatives? So that brings us to tip number two, and that is the I know a guy factor. So as you're going through your career and meeting all these different people, all these different creatives, maybe even different brands, they're gonna remember you. If you leave a good impression and you make genuine interactions with these people because you are straight up just friends with them and stoked to be around them, they're gonna be like, okay, I worked with so-and-so in the past and they were super cool, super down to earth. They got a great work ethic. I just got a project on my plate that I can't take. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot over to them and see if they wanna take the project. And I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me. In 2022, all of my freelance work I gained because somebody referred me to a brand. So all my documentary work, all my travel work, all of it that I did in 2022 was from networking. And so far we're about 2 months into 2023. It's the same case. Aside from my full-time job, every dollar I've made from freelancing is because somebody referred me. And I can't tell you how nice that is to not have to go out of my way to send cold emails to get a project. So that's not to say I'm not gonna go ahead and send cold emails in the future, because if there's a project or a brand I really wanna work with, I'm gonna do it. But to know that there's projects coming my way on the daily, that's super nice. And if there's a project that comes across my plate that I can't take, I always refer somebody else to take it. So it's a constant spinning wheel. So when you leave a good impression and make genuine relationships with people, they're gonna remember you, they're gonna remember your work ethic, and it might not even be about skills, but it might just be about you yourself, and then you're gonna gain extra projects. Now, the more you build this, the bigger you expand your career, and the quicker you get to the point of being a professional creative. And by professional, I mean making all of your money by doing creative work. So let me go ahead and throw this disclaimer in here real quick. I am talking about making genuine interactions and genuine friendships. If you approach people for a specific reason of getting something out of them, such as work, they're gonna catch on pretty quickly, and the tips that I'm telling you are not gonna work out. I'm talking about playing the long game. Make as many friends as you can, because not only is it gonna make the act of photography and videography way more fun, eventually it's going to pay out in dividends, because people are going to pass projects on you, ask you to collaborate on projects, and you're going to end up doing the same with other up and coming creatives. This whole creative field is not a competition. It's about supporting everybody in the field together. And that's the most beautiful thing about it, because this is so much fun. Photography and videography is about creating art. It's about having fun. So why not do it with a bunch of friends and maybe even make some money along the way? So let's go ahead and talk about some practical tips. How can you network? Well, you can't really be shy in this field. You have to kind of put yourself out there. So maybe it starts as going on Instagram and finding local photographers in your area that are maybe either at your skill level or a little bit above your skill level. Somebody that you can talk to, maybe pick their brain and go out and shoot, maybe even shadow a shoot. And I promise you guys, if you reach out to somebody that's above your skill level and be like, look man, I love your work, I would love to follow you and shadow you on a shoot, maybe shoot some behind the scenes photo and video for you, and then you can have the footage for free. Nobody's gonna say no to that. Here's the thing about being a photographer. We're always behind the camera, and we never have photos of us because we're behind said camera. So if somebody is offering you free photos, why not? So it gives you an excuse to go out, see how somebody else is working in the field, and also make a relationship in the process. Now that's gonna dive into both my tips about seeing the creativity from somebody else's perspective, and then also networking, because if they like your work and like you, they might remember you for a project in the future. Another thing I'd look at doing is looking for local photography groups. So like I talked about SoCal Shooters, that is one of the local groups in my area that brings together a bunch of different photographers for the purpose of networking, shooting together, and just loving the art. If for whatever reason you can't find a group like this in your area, make a group then. Go back to my practical tip number 1, reach out to people in your area and just get a bunch of people in your photography niche to get together and shoot. And even if you don't go out in person, even if you make these friendships online and they're halfway across the world, you're still gonna gain something by being friends with these people that work a certain way, because you're gonna wanna know how they operate. You're gonna wanna know how they shoot. And you guys can spitball things off of each other about your work ethics. Maybe one day you're gonna meet up and make a dope project together. Who knows? The world of photography is so small, and the opportunities are truly endless. So if you guys got any value out of this video, hit like, hit subscribe, do all that fun YouTube stuff. Hey, even network with me. Leave a comment down below, tell me to follow you, or go follow me on Instagram. I'd love to get to know all of you guys. That's the best part about being a photographer, is this community. It is so good. I love it. I love meeting everybody. I love shooting. I love all this. It's made me a great career, and I couldn't be any more thankful for all the friends I made along the way and the amount that we've grown together. So thank you everybody for watching. We will see you in the next one. Peace.